Good morning, everybody. Engle here. TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? We welcome everybody this morning on TGI Sports Talk, on Northeast Streaming Sports, on Let's Talk Sports, on Zodiac TV. You'll find us, as always, you can like all our shows, the shows you've seen, the shows you haven't seen, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, many of the podcast outlets as well. We'll get into some stuff. I'll be joined by the Mad New Yorker. I don't know why my light is just so awful today. I don't know what's going on. We'll get into some college football chat. Colorado, is their bubble going to burst this weekend? The Pac-12 and the SEC. I think the Pac-12 is better. I don't think we'll see our SEC elites. Well, Carlos tends to be one a little bit, but we'll talk about that. Which team is more likely to get 0 or 2 teams in the playoff? Things like that. You got to play with it until you get it fixed, right? We'll get into maybe some Daniel Jones talk just to let the Mad New Yorker vent a little bit. It's not Daniel Jones' fault, by the way, when your team runs for 29 yards. And again, I want to give you guys. Ask you guys to give it a little, keep my good friend Dan Harris in your thoughts and prayers. We talked about it on the college football huddle. As you know, he has stepped away permanently, basically from Let's Talk Sports and social media, as his valiant battle is unfortunately not going to end well, but miracles happen, and keep him in your thoughts, and he will remain, as I have promised him numerous times, part of this show forever. Not to be forgotten. Good man, done a lot of things for a lot of people. But we'll get into a lot of other stuff and have some fun today too. Make sure you catch out our college football huddle from Thursday night. We had a good show. Jim Barringer joined us for the last half hour of that. You can also see me on Robert Butler from that night as well. But that'll bring in the Mad New Yorker. Good morning, Carlos.
Yo, good morning, everybody. How you doing today? Happy Friday.
I got this shine on my head, which I don't need. When you have a head like mine, it should not shine. Oh, Carlos, I wanted to have a good thing to talk. We're not going to jump into Daniel Jones. We'll talk to him later, but I was really hoping he somehow would find a way to win that game last night, just so I'd have a little ammunition this morning, but he did not help me out. But we'll get into that a little bit because I want to concentrate on college football.
All right. And
I want to start with Colorado and the mania surrounding Colorado and their turnaround this year from a one-loss team last year, but basically a college football wasteland for about 3 decades, except for a handful of seasons here. And what Deion's done there, and whether Deion is a great coach, whether Deion is a actor, and whether the bubble burst for this team. I've said all along, I didn't expect them to be 3-0. I'll be very honest with you, but they are, and they played well. He's done a tremendous job there. The interest in the program is tremendous. Look at the people that were on the sidelines there. And they've done a great job getting out to 3-0. But I always said, at best, they're going to finish September 3-2, and I still think that will happen. That is not an indictment of Deion Sanders. I think Deion Sanders is a really good football coach. He's different, so people look at him differently. This isn't a showman and a PR guy. That's part of his job. Colorado sold out every home game for the first time in their history. So that tells you a little bit about the clout of Deion Sanders. What are your thoughts about this team up to this point? And then we'll talk a little bit about this weekend against Oregon and maybe even next week against USC.
Well, first of all, good morning. Thoughts out to Dan Harris. Good guy, and just hope he gets to feel better and in this situation.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, everyone. I think first of all, if any of you have Prime or have the ability of having the option to get Amazon Prime, you should catch the semi-documentary that's going on right now. It's currently being filmed on Deion Sanders. If you haven't seen it,
an old one, isn't it? Coach Prime.
Yeah, it's the one where he started at Jackson State.
I watched it a long time ago. It's really, really good and very insightful. Yes.
Yeah, very insightful. So you get to see the kind of personality slash aura that Deion Sanders has as not just a coach, but as a person who's trying to do good for the athletes, right? And it's right now it's just a big old circus because of the fact that Deion Sanders is who he is, and he's at Colorado. And Colorado, like you said, hasn't been a high rated program in a long time. He has sold out all the games at Colorado, and sold out all the games. And here's the funny part: he sold out all the games that he's going to be playing at.
Well, that's not all him, but
no, but still, like, so the interest is there. But look, at the end of the day, as much as he is who he is and what he does, a motivator, a man who cares about the program and what the program is going to do, and just being a coach. It's not going to be up to him, and that's why what he does and the student athletes buy into what he's doing helps a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of it, it's a mental game as much as it's physical. Where the issue is, where I think where you and I are like prognosticating, not being, 100% media, but people who just have opinions, is that we know that the depth of Colorado can only take you so far, right? So I don't feel like Colorado has a team that's deep, but what I do know is that Colorado has a team that's great up with their starters, right? So they're going to go as far as Shedeur Sanders allows them to go, and they're going to go as far as that defense allows them to go. Right now, it's a bend, don't break mentality because they've lost a few players already. And
there's a better player in that team than Shedeur Sanders, and he's not playing this weekend. Travis Hunter.
No, I know everybody knows who that is, but we tend to always, and everybody tends to always forget that Shedeur Sanders is carrying. He carried Jackson State, and now he will be carrying the Colorado Bills. Look, the Buffaloes, not the Bills. Sorry,
that's okay. I know what you meant.
The Buffaloes, and like let's not forget one thing. Like, the ball is not in Colorado's hands; it's in the hands of all the opponents that they're going to play. Because Deion Sanders already proved one thing, and that he has made this team better than it was last year.
Oh yeah,
right. So if they win 4, 5, 6, or if they just stay with the 3 games, it's still a way better team than it was last year. Which, when you're a coach your first year, what your hope is to change the culture, to make changes, and Deion Sanders did that.
Perspective is everything. 6 wins before the season, people would have thought he did a tremendous job. Now, if they win 6 games, which I still think they'll win 6, maybe 7. Yeah. That won't be now because of how they started. It will be a little bit of a disappointment, but it shouldn't be.
No, not at all. And I mean, I think we both sat here blatantly just not even knowing what players were going to be on this team, right? We knew that he was going to use the transfer portal, but we just sat there and was like, just because of Deion and what he's been able to accomplish, he is more likely to make a bowl game than he wasn't. And that doesn't mean that he was going to be in the championship series, right? We said that, right? We've been progressing.
Not even close. He won't even be in the conversation. I mean, and by the way, you talk about the transfer portal. The one thing I have, and I think Deion's a great coach. To Rick's point, here's the thing too. Deion freely admits he's 2 different people. Deion's not a showman. Prime is a showman. Coach Prime is a showman. Deion is not. Look past the glasses. Look past the chains. This guy coaches and motivates a football team as good as anybody in the country.
And
Saban praised him the other day. He holds kids accountable, which a lot of coaches don't do. And, part of he's got to be a showman to sell tickets in Colorado. Sorry, he does.
I think the best thing that Deion has done for the University of Colorado and Boulder, the best thing that he's done is that he's brought his cachet. He's brought knowing that he is a former NFL football star. He's been able to bring in scouts and he's been able to bring in NFL type of playing coaches. Those are the two major things that Colorado will benefit from in the future. The coaches, because it'll allow the kids to learn the style and to be football ready to go to at least to try to go through the draft and go on the teams if they get drafted, right? And the second thing is the scouts. It brings a sort of like an idea in a player's mind, in a student athlete's mind, like, wait a minute, I got to perform even at practice. I've got to show my best at practice because I'm being scouted from the get. They're not waiting for me to Senior Bowl.
Not even that stuff. That's important too. But little things like showing up on time to meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Go to class. He holds kids accountable to go to class, show up to meetings on time, do things that they're expected to do.
Take a shower.
Whatever. Make your bed. There's a great story about an Army general who said the best thing you can do is learn to make your bed every day before you start your day, because that is an important part of a regimen, and make sure that you're going to do the right things every day, all day long.
Right. There's a study showing that making your bed every morning is leads to positive thinking and organizational skills. There's actually a study on that.
Exactly. And back to the transfer portal for one thing. One worry I have with Deion. Deion's not going to be at Colorado for a long time, by the way. We all know that.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
Maybe not. That remains to be seen whether, how fast the next stepping stone comes. I do hope that his model doesn't become the model for college football, and we're going to turn over 85% of rosters, every time a new coach comes in. That's the only danger here. If he does really well, that could become a danger. So
the contradiction is that if you do turn over rosters, it could help you. The idea of the turning over the roster is the same thing as when you're on a team that's failing. And I think he put it quite faintly correctly when even in 60 Minutes on CBS. So if you guys have been able to catch that, you could catch that too. He said that the coaches were held accountable for losing in Colorado. They got fired. Why don't the players get the same rights? Because they're the ones that were on the field.
Players, by the way, no, you can't do that.
No, listen. That's his justification. It's like, listen, like it's not that he said it's not that he don't want to help those players. He said he wants to help players who want to win, who want to be there and have high expectations. So he got rid of those players who wouldn't be able and didn't want to look past the fact that they had a losing streak and didn't want to follow him in what his plan.
But what about the kids he got away? That again, remember, a very small percentage of these kids make the NFL. Very, very, very small percentage.
That's not the case. That's not the case about every person for themselves, right?
It is the case, and a lot of those kids, their only way to a 4-year education, because there are kids there to get a degree, even on the football team, now have lost that opportunity for that free ride to Colorado that they were promised by the previous regime. And that part I have a problem with. The football part of it is different. The kids that are there to just play football, that's fine. But there's a side of this that nobody ever talks about.
Right. So, and to that I say, that's up to the individual, because most of those guys who transferred, they went to another school anyway. They did not. I said most. I didn't say all.
No, wait. And I was also going to say, with my previous comment, that I hope, and he may very well have done this, and I don't know it, helped some of these kids find another place to go.
Right. And I believe that was part of just, if you don't want to be here, go and listen.
That's different. That's different than saying goodbye.
Right.
If you're giving kids a chance to go, that's different than saying you're gone. Right.
There's not that many guys who left from Colorado that were 4 or 5 star players that other teams are reaping the benefit from.
No, I get that. But again, those are kids there for the
but, well. Yeah, that doesn't justify the fact that you tell somebody to leave because, but the idea, the flip side is that he wanted to start with something that was his. He wanted to start with guys that he knew, that he recruited, and he did that, and it's not going bad for him. It's actually going better for him starting out than it was for Colorado starting out last year. So there is some truth to what he's saying.
Well, agreed. I'm really not knocking Deion. My nitpicks are, I don't want to see this one model, because this will become a nightmare in college football with 80% turnover on every new program. But for the most part, I think Dion is doing a great job and is a good coacher and is good for the kids for the most part.
Yeah, and for this game coming up, Keith, to be honest with you,
let's get into this game. Does the bubble burst? Does the bubble burst this week?
I don't think so, in the sense where even if Oregon wins, it's gonna be a tight game. And I say it in the sense where Colorado's played the last two games they played tight. And you would think that, okay, because they played those two games tight, they're gonna be tired and worn out. I believe that's true. They will be tired and worn out. But I also believe in Coach Prime, and I believe in what their culture and what they're doing there. And at Jackson State, that's the only thing that we can compare Dion at, is that even when they've had a tough game, they would come back from that game. Now, Jackson State didn't lose any games. They had close games, a couple, not many, but they had a couple close. They had come back and played even better. So, and the idea is that having the scouts there, right, at practice, having them at the game, these kids have to perform at a high level if they even plan on getting drafted.
One big difference, and Rick points it out here, at Jackson State, he was playing against schools, all similar size schools at historically black colleges and the conferences they play in.
Mm-hmm.
They were fairly well evenly matched as far as, the ability to recruit size.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about the size of the offensive and defensive lines, which came into a problem we saw with Cincinnati a few years ago against Alabama, even TCU last year. Maybe TCU is a harder comparison for me, Rick, only because they killed Michigan with that same offensive line. But depth, we talked about depth.
Yeah.
They are very good on the offensive side of the football. They are not that good on the defensive side of football, and they've lost their best defensive player for maybe the season. I'm not sure. He's got a lacerated liver from last I heard. I don't think that's an early, quick return. I think Oregon, because they're deep, they're going to be bigger on both sides of the football, as Rick says. I think Colorado gets their comeuppance this week. I think they get throttled in Oregon. I really do.
So I agree with what Rick is saying. I agree with what you're saying. And I think we can really just agree, all three of us agree that, or even more, whoever's watching and agrees with what you've said, is that the football that Dion plays, that has on the field, is more about speed than it is about weight and size. Now, saying that, he did lose his fastest player and one of his best players on offense, who also plays defense. However,
maybe maybe the best player in the country, Travis Henry, in my mind.
Yes, I think. Well, that's still arguable, but I think that he would be in the top 5 for sure. The thing is that when you play with speed, the defense is always going to go on the back end. So they're going to. I feel like they'll match up Oregon point for point for the first 2, maybe 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, it's going to be the survivor of the fittest. Which team has the best stamina, and not just in depth, but stamina, right? Because you saw Shedeur throwing balls left and right, and you see those guys running left and right. If you're trying to compare yardage per yard per team, Colorado's in the top 3, right?
Again, I got to look at the teams they played as well.
No, but it's not. I mean, they still okay. So right now, Colorado has been playing the teams that they've played, and they've won against the teams that they play. Right. So you always use this, and now you want to kind of go back on it. They won their games, and that's what matters the most, right?
I agree. No, I don't. Listen,
now if we go
3-0 is 3-0, but now the competition steps up.
Right. However, they did beat and throttle TCU, right? They did beat a TCU, right?
Well, not proved to be very good since, but they won the game, yes.
Yeah. So they have an idea. I'm not saying that it's the perfect comparison, but they have an idea now. A team like TCU they can compete with. Remember I said that's scary. If Dion keeps winning these games, it's scary because it gives an edge to
confidence is an important thing, and he does play. The other thing he does is it's always us against them.
Yes,
it's always us against the world, and Dion plays against that. That's why coaches. You haven't seen Dan Lanning up in Oregon putting a lot of bulletin board material out there. Although I don't know what it is. He did say something last year about Dion. I think maybe when he got the Colorado job. I don't know for a fact what it is. I was looking for it this morning, couldn't find it. But he hasn't put anything new out there that like Jay Norvell did last week to really fire up
And no, and listen, if you're in the Pac-12, just let it be. Just concentrate on getting your team ready to play a competitive team. Don't worry about what Dion does, who he is, because it's already shown that Colorado's not doing the same thing in all the games. They're and these coaches, they're not your typical coaches. These are NFL type of coaches that he has.
I'm not going to tell you. I think Oregon will cover you even a 3-touchdown spread. I really do. Whoa. But I don't say there's an impossibility that Colorado continues to shock the world. If they win, this is a big game for both these teams. Oregon knows they're in a battle because the Pac-12, which we're going to talk about in general in a second, is really good and maybe the best conference in college football right now. There's 8 teams in the top 25, most of them with a legitimate chance to at least lay claim that they can compete for the conference championship and a place in the playoff. If Colorado loses this game, there's a lot of pressure on them. If they lose it, they fall out of that race most likely. And now the talk starts. Okay, the track meet against USC with Colorado the week after becomes much more important. And all of a sudden, now Colorado is a legitimate contender in the Pac-12. I don't foresee that happening. It could.
No, of course. And this kind of feels like the ACC of like when it first started, that all the teams were competitive, You remember Florida State, Clemson, like all those guys were competitive at first and then just kind of dwindle down. But that's what it feels like. But look, kudos to the Pac-12 teams. They're doing well. They're in the top. A lot of them are in the top 20, like you said, 25. And look, they're playing football. And the SEC, they playing football. The problem is right now that these teams in the West Coast, right now is when the schedule gets tougher. Right now is when almost all college football schedule gets tougher.
You got to play each other now, so.
Yeah, so now it's gonna. This is where the rubber meets the road, and we're gonna find out what these teams really have.
Well, they got a couple of big matchups within the Pac-12 this week. With Colorado, Oregon, probably not even the biggest of them. You got Oregon State against Washington State, both playing really good football. You got UCLA going to Utah. Very important game.
Yeah.
That race for the conference championship. And by the way, these teams can't lose 2 games in the conference, win a championship, and make the playoff. They just can't.
There might be 1 or 2 that can be able to pull it off, but not. Don't do it. Right. That's the thing. Don't do it. Don't think about it. Just try to win all your games as possible. Right. So
we're going to segue into that conversation here right now. And Rick is right. Speed kills, but size will wear you down. Agreed. And just a couple quick good mornings as I put them up. Dave Guyette, good morning. Happy with us.
Morning,
Robert Butler from Sportscope. Check out his show. I had the pleasure of spending a half an hour with him Wednesday night, and all Carlos spends time with Robert a lot. Robert, you want to know stuff going on in the NFL, watch Robert's show. Great stuff. And good afternoon to Alec Simpson in the UK, speaking of the UK this morning.
And happy win to you, Alec.
Yes.
I gave that to you last season, too.
And Alec actually is celebrating a win today with the San Francisco win over the Giants last night, which we'll talk a little bit here about in a minute. So continuing on with the Pac-12 conversation, which Colorado's part of, and some of the teams we've just talked about. I want to talk about the comparison of the SEC, where we are normally accustomed to seeing them record-wise and just to feel that they're the best team, the best conference in the country. They're down this year a little bit.
No.
They're susceptible to, and I've said this a couple of times now, that I think there's a better chance they get 0 teams in the college football playoff than 2, which is, again, it's been an upset when they haven't gotten 2 like they did in last year. There's a good chance. There's a chance. I shouldn't say a good chance. I'm still picking Georgia, as I said Wednesday night, to win the conference because their schedule is going to get them to the championship game easily. And I like them to three-peat. But Georgia gets to the conference championship and gets beat by a 2 or 3 loss team from the other side. Let's say LSU loses, 2 conference games, which is possible, and beats them in the championship game. Nobody's going to the college football playoff from the SEC. I don't think, depending on what else happens around the country.
How many teams are 3-0 right now in the SEC?
Georgia. I mean overall, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at them quick. I got.
I'll give it to you. I just looked them up here.
I got
Missouri.
I didn't bring them up.
Kentucky.
Missouri, very underrated, but not going to make it.
They're not going to make it. No, Missouri, Kentucky, Georgia. You have Mississippi, Ole Miss, Auburn, and then you have a lot of teams right now at 2-1, which is like Florida, Tennessee.
We talk about the Pac-12 beating each other up. I got a feeling the SEC might beat themselves up because Georgia, until Georgia gets beat, they're still my favorite, and they're still the number one team in the country. People say they shouldn't be, blah blah blah, whatever. Right? Again, as I say, they're 3-0. They're the national champ, the reigning national championship. They're the number one until they get beat. Maybe I'll change that tune if Notre Dame runs off with the next 4 games. We'll see. That's a different conversation, though.
Oh, so okay, hey, quick, I got a good question for you.
Very likely, it's likely that there'll be a chance a team does not make it from the SEC.
I have a good question for you. Who's more likely to win 4 in a row, Notre Dame or Colorado?
Oh, Notre Dame, easy. Colorado's not beating Oregon, USC. Who they got after that? I had it up here. Hold on. I don't think they're winning any of their. Well, they got Arizona State, which they should win, and Stanford. They should go 2-2 the next 4 games. They should.
And who does Notre Dame play?
Notre Dame's got a tough schedule, but again, they're not playing Oregon, USC, and they're not at the level. Don't tell me Notre Dame and Colorado are at the same level because they're not.
I'm not telling you. I'm not. That's not.
Notre Dame, I don't even have to look because I know this. They've got Ohio State this weekend. They got Duke at Duke next weekend, which is someplace they better be very careful. They got Louisville, who's, again, not awful this year under Scott Satterfield. Then they got USC. So they run the table. They made to be the number one team in the country.
If they run the table, what if they tie 2-2 the next 4 games and Colorado is 2-2 the next 4 games?
Colorado's out of the top 25.
It's Notre Dame?
No. No.
Interesting.
I don't think so. No.
I think we should look on that. I think we should keep our eyes on that, people. And I say it.
But their national championships hopes are over. I mean, if they lose Ohio State or USC, probably one loss won't kill them. Because again, I don't think we're gonna. We may very well not have an undefeated team.
I feel like Notre Dame have 2 trap games in a row. At Duke and at Louisville.
I think they got Louisville at home, but still.
I mean, I'm talking about trap games, not away games.
Listen, and we're getting a little off topic, but this is fine because it's about the college football playoff. Duke, to me, is a team to watch out for. I know they're only ranked 16 or 18, wherever they are right now. Where are they? I think they're
right below Alabama. Alabama's 15, right?
They're 18.
Oh, 18, right.
They're 18 in the AP poll.
Yeah.
If they run the table in the ACC and win the championship game, undefeated, guess what? They're probably going to the playoff. They're going to have, that means they will have beaten Clemson, which they already did. They will beat FSU at least once, maybe twice, and probably somebody else good. If one of those teams doesn't make the championship game, another good team. They're going to be in a playoff if they were to. I'm not saying they are, but they control their own destiny, like Notre Dame controls their own destiny. Some teams don't.
You honestly think Notre Dame will go 4-0 in this next 4 games?
I think it's very possible. I think Notre Dame's really, really good. Really good.
I just think just picking up the quarterback is not enough.
I didn't say it was. They've got better skill position players. They got as good a defense as they've had in a while, and I think the coach is better prepared for these types of games. Kelly never won these types of games. Their record, I looked at their record, and I can't remember it now, but their record against top 10 teams in the last 25 years is atrocious. It's like 8-17.
Yeah, I know, but you're saying that this coach will have a better record against these teams that Kelly had?
Yes. Kelly's was awful against teams.
But
awful in big games. I mean, good records for the most part, but bad in big games.
Oh, are you saying that? Oh, man. So you're pretty much saying that this coach is going to be better than Kelly at Notre Dame?
I was never that impressed with Kelly, to be honest with you. I think he's a self-promoter. He's a guy looking for the next best thing. How many times did he flirt with the NFL while he was at Notre Dame? Another guy looking for the next best thing.
I don't think
he thinks he's got a better chance of winning a national championship because of the recruiting standards are not what they are at Notre Dame. That's it. He blames the recruiting standards at Notre Dame for their lack of success against the powerhouse teams.
Well,
which is ridiculous. Yeah. The standards are harder. I'm sorry. The standards are not as hard, recruiting standards at Notre Dame, as they were 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 30 years ago when they were winning national championships. Lou Holtz had a harder road to recruiting than Kelly ever had.
Yeah, I think that the knock was always that the requirements academically is set too high for the football team to recruit the players that they wanted, not the players that they needed. Like so.
Alec brings up a good point, which we didn't talk about during this Colorado game. Circling back to that, how they handle the loss is going to be very important as well, especially since they got USC right on the back of it.
Yeah, that is going to be important. But Alec, I will say this: Dion treats the ties or the close games as losses. Yeah. So I think it would just be something that for them they would simultaneously just kind of have the loss, don't look back, move on, move forward, and try to get the game back.
By the way, he's at Colorado. He should count wins as wins, not never a loss, because this is
Dion's never this guy again. We tend to forget he strives for perfection, and he strives for perfection. Even if he knows that they can't be perfect. So striving for perfection is the best. It's the tip of the iceberg for every.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about his coaching mantra. It's like, you didn't play a great game. You played a good game, like you were far, you made these and these mistakes and they work on that. And that's what coaching is about, right? Fixing the mistakes and trying to play better than you played the last game. And that mentality is what's missing and the youth in the world today. It's like, you might've done something good, but try to do better than good and strive for
well, absolutely.
Oh, great for greatness,
Don't settle. I agree.
There you go.
Back to the Pac-12 and the SEC. I think right now the Pac-12 is better. Let's look at it this way. Which conference is more likely to have no participants no participants in the college football playoff? I think it's right. I think it's the Pac-12.
The Pac-12.
As good as they are because of Georgia's schedule, and they're going to get every benefit of doubt, even if they were to run the table and lose their championship game, depending on who they lose it to. I think they're less likely to get zero.
Yeah. Keith, right now, look, the Pac-12 is the better conference. Even Wazoo, which nobody's giving any credit to.
I love Wazoo this week at home against Oregon State.
Yeah,
Ward is a great quarterback. That league is full of great quarterbacks, by the way.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say. They have rosters worth of kids on defense and on offense that can be some of the best players in the nation right now in the Pac-12. Now, not to say that the SEC doesn't, but
the quarterbacks top to bottom.
Quarterbacks, there is a very different
good teams. It's much better in a Pac-12 for sure.
Right, and you know what? And when we talk about that, and I mentioned that in the past, even on the college huddle, it's like it just goes to show what they're running and what they're doing offensively in the West Coast, right, in the Pac-12, right, that offense that they run, because SEC don't need those guys to be throwing the ball 60, 70 yards. You know what I'm saying? And
the argument would be from the SEC elitists like John DeLon, who's not here this morning to defend himself, so I apologize for throwing you under the bus with you not here, John. But the argument would be, well, they don't play any defense out west either. But listen, I'm not seeing great defense every week in the SEC either, by the way.
No, not at all. And this is the best thing about the SEC, and which is why a lot more kids get drafted from the SEC, is because you don't see a lot of defense, but the guys that play great defense, they stand out.
Oh, and they're really good, yeah.
Yeah, and they're really good. Like, so LSU for the longest time with their cornerbacks, their DBs. Even Kentucky had players on the defensive end that are now in the NFL. And that's Kentucky's not a high end team in the SEC if you think about it. They've been on middle road for the last 5 seasons for sure.
Right.
But and you see a lot of guys from UT defense and offense come out. So these guys they might not have the best of the best in the SEC as far as QBs, but the players on both sides of the team are high end, and they might not all have great players on their teams, but the ones that are good in the SEC, they stick out, and you know who they are when they're playing.
What I think is ironic. Why did I freeze here? What happened?
I was talking about the SEC, so your screen froze.
I don't know what happened there. That's weird. I had something that froze my screen. It wasn't the internet. It was something I hit. I did freeze, yes. The irony of the Pac-12, by the way, being so good, they're going to have the best season overall, the best championship chase they've had in maybe decades. And it's as the whole thing is about to burn down, which is really ironic.
And that goes to show that you can't keep a good thing going in college football.
Well, it goes to show if they showed a little patience, they would have got the TV contract that they wanted. But
I don't think so. I think it's just money. It's just like two powerhouses of money trying to get the best deal, and that's the university directors, the athletic directors trying to get money for their colleges, and you have the production companies, the cable companies trying to get the best for the money. So
back to my question, which conference is more likely to have 0 teams in the college football playoff? Because I have a second question to follow it up.
Probably
my answer will differ on both. I think the SEC is least likely to get nobody there.
No, I mean, I think it'd be probably more like the ACC because
we're only comparing 2 conferences.
I mean, right now it's the SEC, but I mean, it'll all break down and funnel its way through the system once you see the games being played. And
that's not telling me anything. I'm asking you to look into the future and say this conference is least likely to get somebody in, and I say the least likely is Pac-12 to get 0. Because I'm going to ask another question after this. So give me an answer.
Yeah, probably be the Pac-12. But
okay. Now I'm going to say it a different way.
Okay.
And I'm going to answer differently, and it'll be a little surprising. Which conference is most likely to get 2 teams in? And I'm going to say the Pac-12 is more likely to get 2 than the SEC, which sounds weird when I say they're most likely to get 0 as well.
Right.
But I think they've got more good teams at the top of that conference. And if the really good teams separate themselves, it could be USC. Let's say it's USC and Washington.
Yeah, I was going to say
they play a great conference championship game, and they both got 1 loss. They could go into it undefeated, which I doubt that'll happen. Maybe one of them goes in undefeated and loses to the other one. They both got 1 loss, a great game. I think it's possible they get 2 than the SEC were to get 2, just because the ACC is down at the even at the top. They're not as good as they've been.
Yeah, and this sounds like when Alabama was like, Georgia was trying to play Alabama, and then Alabama ended up winning, but they ended up going into the playoffs anyways. So that's what it sounds. This year's going to be like that, but reverse it. And here, look, you're going to hear it here first. As much as we here in the East Coast, we don't have West Coast bias. Keith and I appreciate him for this, is that he enjoys the game of college football.
I do.
And the teams that play it. We're not here saying we have a team and we're partial to one team. No, and I feel like I understand football. People might say I don't, but I feel like right now the Pac-12 for what it is a reverse of what the SEC was about 5 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Right.
I like good stories, so I go look for the best stories.
You don't like talking about Deion being a good story. Yeah, you want to see that first.
It is a great story, and Georgia's a great story, chasing 3 championships. Right? I think they've got a really good shot at it. I want to root for that.
And that is being lost in the Deion talk, right? The fact that the Georgia's just chugging along like Alabama used to do in the SEC, and you know what it is? I think the SEC, all the people who are not from Georgia, who are not following Georgia and Alabama, are waiting to see Georgia fail. They're just like, come on.
Of course they are. Well, you know what? Because TV networks and whatever, they think people get bored with teams, right? I don't see Georgia and Alabama anymore. I just don't want to see them anymore.
Right.
I don't think that's true, basically. I don't think that's true. Or you wouldn't be paying all those money to those conferences to put them on TV.
You know what? It infuriates, and I'm going to play the flip side on this. It infuriates SEC elitists and SEC followers to see another conference play, one of our best conference, when we'd rather see a rematch, right? We'd rather see a rematch than see a team like Cincinnati or TCU blow it with their opportunity and not take advantage of that, you know.
Another great point Rick points out. I do always root for the service academies as well.
Yeah, those are always great matches, by the way.
Yeah. And by the way, Army off to a pretty good start after changing their whole offense around this year, too, and throwing the ball a lot more. So, and Air Force is always competitive.
Yeah, don't forget Navy, too.
Yeah, Navy's still on a downward slide, unfortunately.
Here's an issue with Navy. Is that even when they don't have a good season, if you have them on your schedule, they will not make it easy for you to play.
No.
They will not.
Made it look easy in Dublin, but
I mean, you know what my opinion about that is, that was a TV match, and I feel for Navy, and I feel like if that match was in Notre Dame or even at Navy, that score would have been totally different. That game would have been totally different.
I don't know about Notre Dame, but I don't know about that. Anyway, before we run out of time here, I want to, in fairness, because I'll find a way to argue this somehow. I don't know how yet.
We're going to talk about Daniel Jones.
Let's talk about Daniel Jones. Last week, Daniel Jones sets records in the second half with an improbable comeback against arguably the worst team in the NFL, I will say. Falling behind that much is not a good sign at all. But Daniel Jones showed some great mettle in bringing this team all the way back and winning this game last week.
Oh,
lost his best weapon, not able to play last night. Daniel Jones' numbers, not terrible. But when you run for 29 yards, your quarterback's in a lot of trouble because he's not. I've never said he was Patrick Mahomes, where he's going to be able to go out there and carry the team on his back.
But that's the problem with Daniel Jones.
The receivers don't step up. Waller disappears again for the second time in 3 weeks. And nobody else steps up to fill the void left by Saquon Barkley. Nobody. It's not Daniel Jones' problem. It's the Giants' overall lack of talent. I said I like the team. I still think they'll recover, and I still think they'll win 9 games. But the window or the margin for error is so small. We've seen it now 2 out of 3 weeks against better teams in the NFC.
Look, to be fair with you kind of making an okay assessment. But where it goes wrong to me, what bothers me is that you are a top play quarterback in the NFL. You have to run through people. You have to run straight. You have to get more than 29 yards. Even that's his one attribute that he's getting paid for. That's just the most asinine thing to watch on
quarterbacks are paid to win games, plain and simple. That's
still, you're not going to win games if you're not going straight and trying to make first downs and keeping your defense rested, which is a smaller defense now because of all the injuries that they had last game. Now this game, they've had even more injuries. Look, Keith, man, you would have never said this about Randall Cunningham. You would never said this about Michael Vick. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is a running quarterback. What I'm saying is that if you have the opportunity to run straight and make first yards, you do that. And you do that because you're the quarterback of the team and you need to keep your defense healthy. That game could have gone another way had Daniel Jones scored 2 more points. Not him himself, but him carried that ball straight instead of sideways. I don't understand why he's running sideways. I don't know what he's looking at because he might have been running for his life, but he could have still ran straight and towards the out of bounds to get just 1.5, 2 more yards extra. Like, what does that take from you? Like, you already been hurt before. You have hurt your collar before, but you've done it on dummy runs. You've done it on runs into big men. Look straight, look forward, and just run, my man. You
just asked him to run over big men. And now you say he made the dumb decisions to do it. Can't be both.
No. The plays that he ran was going in circles, and he got hurt. You don't have to run in circles. Just run straight. I don't care if it's straight to the sideline, but just run like upwards, like 90 degrees, man. Come on. Like this is a thing. This is a mental issue, and I'll tell you why. And this is why I compare him to Tannehill, because this is what I see for this kid. Because Tannehill's gone through the same thing.
He's better than Tannehill. He
6
runs better than
offensive coordinators and what is it? But the man can run. That was his thing.
When was Tannehill ever a runner?
Are you serious? That was his calling card, was that he would run and had sun speed to get the first down because it wasn't his arm.
He came out of a pro-style offense in Texas A&M with Sherman, who used to coach Green Bay, was his coach.
I know, and I'm telling you this.
Run the ball like Daniel Jones.
He not had that skill to run straight and get extra yards. He wouldn't have stayed in the NFL. Now, the Titans did overpay him, just like the Giants overpaying Daniel Jones.
Look, because you have to overpay quarterbacks.
He has an attribute he's not excelling at, which is what he's getting paid for. So he's making a team worse, man. He's making a team worse for making those decisions not to run forward.
To Alex's point here, too, a bad business decision to keep him, as Carlos has said, I will still disagree with, because what other options did you have other than to punt the next 3 or 4 seasons?
Did you watch the game last night?
I watched enough of it, yes.
Did you watch him go straight, or did you watch him go straight to the sideline running for his life?
Because his offensive line is terrible.
He had 3 or 4 chances to run towards the sideline, but run straight because there was no safety or DB back there.
Yeah.
And what he did instead was he throw the ball away, or he ran and stepped out of bounds. It's like, bro, you could have picked up a yard or 2 more.
How about instead of calling out the quarterback, call out the guys, the rest of the guys on the field where not one guy stepped up last night to help him.
Okay. So
0.
I called him out Daniel Jones in the sense where you're saying that he did what he could last night, and he didn't do what he could. He did not, because his calling card is running. If he had a good thing to say about him besides his leadership and all that, it's like, oh, the man can run. And he didn't run yesterday. He didn't. He got
We say guys like Josh Allen should stop running the football. If that's their game, that's what they say.
No. Well, my thing is that Josh Allen, he can run the ball. He should run the ball. But that shouldn't be the first move that the team should make. I've always said that. He shouldn't be making more yards than his running back. But if it's available to him, take the yards. Josh Allen
only ran the ball 2 times last night, by the way. 2 times.
Who?
Daniel Jones. 2 times he ran the ball.
That's what I'm saying. This is the same thing. That's the same thing. It's the Tannehill syndrome. Tannehill did the same thing in the playoff game. Give the ball. He didn't give Derrick Henry the ball, the best running back that they had. He didn't throw it to Brown. What he did instead is he held the football. He either threw it away or ran to the sideline. Not getting positive yardage is a detrimental thing for your offense.
If you're telling me they lost this game because of Daniel Jones last night, you're dead wrong.
I'm telling you is that Daniel Jones was part of the problem. That's what I'm saying.
The problem, they ran for 29 yards. That was the problem. They rushed for 29 yards. Yeah. Take away his 5, they rushed for 24.
If he's trying to get these small dink and dunk receptions. He's trying to get these small yardage plays where he could have made almost the same amount of yardage.
Because when you send guys downfield like Waller, who's your number 1 target, he doesn't get open. He doesn't even try to get open.
Well,
freaking oxygen that guy is.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and I've said it before. Like he should be a wide receiver, but he was forced to be a wide receiver last night.
He played wide receiver most.
Yeah,
I saw him.
And the one thing he didn't do, which is what he usually did when he was a tight end, was get separation. And I think he got stuck in the situation where he said he got to run out to try to get a long ball. No, I feel like Waller did bad for Jones not looking for separation. It was just bad.
And Rick's right. You don't necessarily want your quarterback running over people.
No, I never said that. I'm saying take the yards I'm going to give it to you.
Actually, you actually said run over people. Literally said run over people.
Well, if you have to run over people,
that doesn't mean you shouldn't be running. I agree. Well, that's euros. I guess it's 40 million, I believe here. I'm not sure. No
matter what it is, it's 20 million more than he did.
You don't like the guy. Whatever he got was going to be too much. Again, I will continue to make the argument that if Daniel Jones hadn't been the number 6 pick in the draft,
I got to answer for Mr. Anthony Price. All right, Ryan Tannehill was
welcome, Anthony. By the way, welcome.
How's it going? Good morning. Ryan Tannehill 2 seasons ago was in the running for MVP in the first 5 games for Tennessee. Right after Tennessee lost Derrick Henry, so. Before that, right at that 5-game marker where he started trying to throw the ball again, is when that fell apart for him. So there's a little bit of details for you.
Let me find my good friend Anthony some numbers on Ryan Tannehill's rushing career.
Not rushing career for the season two seasons ago when Derrick Henry went out.
Hold on. Relax a second. I want.
I believe he like 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns in the first 6 games or something like that.
Yards per carry. Where is this rushing stuff here? Oh, yards. Here we go. Well, those are sacks, by the way. Sacked for 427 yards 2 years ago. That's good. Yards. Where is his carries? How come I can't see it in here? Does it go somewhere else? Advanced passing and just fancy rushing. Here we go. All right. For his career, he's rushed for 2,000 yards. He's never rushed for more than 311 yards in a year. That was with Miami. Other than that, mostly under 200 yards rushing for the year. He's not.
I never said he was a 1,000-yard rusher.
You
said he would run. He gets those yards, Keith.
You said that was part of his game when he came into this league.
That is part of his game to get positive yardage on his runs.
Okay.
The problem with that stat is that for every 10 yards he runs forward, he gets sacked for 20. How about that?
That's not included in these numbers. These are rushing attempts. Rushing attempts. He averaged 4 yards a carry for his career.
That's not bad.
He's only run the ball in the 10 years he's been in the league 400 times. He's not a running quarterback. Daniel Jones is a running quarterback. It's a bad comparison.
No. What I'm saying to you,
right.
Daniel Jones is not a running quarterback either. What I'm saying to you is that if he needs to run, he would run and he would get positive yardage. And then on him, and he just like Daniel Jones, for all the good yardage that they get, they do backward stuff like running sideways and throwing the ball whenever they can't get there, instead of just holding on to,
So Daniel Jones has run for as much as 708 yards in a season, by the way.
And half of it he got when he fell down right before the freaking end zone.
Well, he'd run for 60 before that, by the way, 400 yards. So again, he's run less and less as his career has gone on, as he should, as any quarterback should, who plays like that. If he wants to stick around, Josh Allen will not have a long career running linebackers over. He just won't.
So the difference between, again, Allen and Daniel Jones is that Allen is the first option to run. Daniel Jones is never a first option to run unless they're like in the third down and they have 2 yards to go. Then they'll be like, let's try to quarterback sneak it.
I won't argue with Alec here that Baker Mayfield.
Alec, which I said to people, Tampa Bay was my dark horse. I said, watch out for Baker Mayfield. He's going to play hard because he's not going to want to end up being a backup quarterback in the NFL.
Ian loves passionate sports talk. I love it too, especially when I'm right. That's what makes it so fun for me.
All right, so and again, this is just a little piece of Daniel Jones was just a loss yesterday, because yesterday they should have done a lot better. His
Jack's DN played at Kentucky. What? I'm not sure what Robert's saying there. Oh, Josh Allen, defensive end. I guess there's another Josh Allen who's a defensive end is what he's talking about, I think. There's Sander with us today. Let's just get through some of these comments before we, because we're going to go nowhere here anyway.
Oh, hey, Tanner, how about this? Those 2 field goals in the beginning of the game is what saved you.
Tanner, welcome.
But you got it. You got it right, Tanner. Tanner got it right.
Tanner, by the way, kind of taking over the helm over there at Let's Talk Sports. So we'll give him some kudos for keeping the balls in the air over there. Ian says, always interests me that the stats are highlighted a lot in American football as evidence of why a team is won or lost. In Australian rules football, the intangibles like effort, courage are highlighted more. Great point. Ian, leadership, I'll bet, too. Another word that I love a lot, Ian, is leadership. And I just think Daniel Jones can.
What I like about Australian football, it's like a dogfight without pads, man. It's like training camp without.
I would rather have Mac Jones than Daniel Jones. Yes,
I'd rather stay away from the Joneses. Any Joneses, just stay out of New York.
Mac Jones has not played that bad this year. The team has not played well.
There's the problem in New York. People try to keep up with the Joneses, man.
Come to New England. We got about 10 Joneses on a team, for crying out loud. Anthony also says, I sure watched the game last. I'm sure. I guess he watched the game last night. And what happened to Jalen Hyatt? I did not see what happened to Jalen Hyatt.
Jalen Hyatt is not an anonymous. He played with He played with a guy in UT, with the quarterback in UT in Hooker that can just throw the ball. And Highlight's one of those guys to make you look like a better quarterback, but you still have to be somewhat proficient. Daniel Jones is not proficient down the field.
Well, that's because the defenses are much better in the NFL than they are in NCAA. You can throw the ball up for grabs, the guy out jumps.
So let's just say that there's some truth to that, Keith. But there's a lot of guys who are wide receivers who have transitioned from the college game to the NFL game and still are very successful. CeeDee Lamb, Waddle.
No, that's a great point. I was knocking the quarterbacks more, right? I mean, the quarterbacks are less. The successful quarterbacks on the college level are much less likely to make it on the next level because of the defensive backs and just being able to throw the ball up. And you've got athletic guys like Hyatt and many, many others that can go up and get the ball. That speaks well for them to be able to compete in the NFL later on. Now, there are some can't get separation and whatnot. I think Hyatt will be a good football player. I really do.
Yeah, I think he just needs a quarterback that's a little bit more like efficient with the ball and proficient. Listen, one of the guys I like is oh my God, I forgot his name, from Seattle, the wide receiver, man. He's a hoss.
The rookie from Ohio State.
No. The what's his name? Who caught up with that cornerback and saved the touchdown?
Metcalf,
man, what an athlete, man, tremendous.
Super Bowl
winner. Yeah, you know what's funny about that O-line is that it was already a patched up duct tape O-line last night, and
it's ugly, just like New England. It's ugly.
Yeah, and there's no depth there. And another thing was, and I don't know if anybody caught this, before the game, there was like maybe 4 scratches on the roster, like right before the game, an hour or two before the game, the Giants came out with a few scratches for the game. I'm like, what's going on?
I got to go back to one of Alex's previous comments because I know you'll want to comment on this, on how well Shanahan's play calling was last night. Best play designer in the NFL.
Alec, I'm gonna make a prop bet for you and say that San Francisco, as good as they're gonna be, they won't make a championship game this
year. They'll get beat by Seattle in the championship game. That's what'll happen.
Yeah, they're because I don't look. They already missing a wide receiver. Deebo Samuel did great. Deebo Samuel had a tremendous night last night. But they're already missing one piece of their cod there. Imagine if McCaffrey gets hurt or somebody else goes down, or even who played well last night, who probably should get a lot of credit, is their tight end. He got them like maybe 4 or 5 first downs on his own.
Yeah. I will agree with you, Alec, by the way, that Shanahan is one of the best play callers in the game today. Agreed. Should have run the ball more in the Super Bowl against New England, but
so how did that make him better?
He had one bad game.
One
to be expected. All right, we got a couple minutes real quick. We need our best bet, and don't be surprised if. Let's start with college football. Give me your best bet.
Best bet next week that Wazoo beats Oregon State and will still not be ranked in the top 15.
They're already in the top 25.
In the top 10.
Oh, top 10. Of course, they're not going to be ranked. Top 10.
That's a bet.
Right. Don't be surprised if.
Don't be surprised if that Colorado and Oregon go to overtime.
Wow. All right, just for my hot take, I'm switching up my pick.
Oh, what gets hotter than this?
Oregon wins this game 20. I'm going to say about 50-21. They cover the spread. Bet the over. The over 70 in this game. Colorado might score some points. They're going to win this. They're going to cover the 21 points in this game.
I said, look out for Shadir Sanders, right? And don't be surprised if he has one of the second best games in the college game this year.
And don't be surprised if you took one of them. Washington State will win at home against Oregon State.
Oh, we're on the same wavelength. Oh, no.
And I will give you another one, Notre Dame underdogs. So don't be surprised when they beat the higher-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes at home.
Okay, Keith, how about this? If we're betting little bets here and there, I will give you Notre Dame beating Ohio State, but Notre Dame going 2-2 afterwards.
All right, I said to go at least 3-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Donut. NFL. The NFL. Best bet.
NFL has already started.
You can't take San Francisco either, by the way.
Best bet that the Broncos will actually win this week.
Best bet. Don't be surprised if that might have been a good one for that, but that's fine.
Oh, I mean, that's not a surprise. my surprise is something else.
All right, what's that?
Don't be surprised that Tampa Bay wins a game this year.
There you go. All right, best bet from me. Seattle just beats up on the Panthers at home. Panthers are bad. Bryce Young might not play. Seattle's good. Seattle's my Super Bowl pick. Still, I'm not.
You haven't gone to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Wow.
And don't be surprised if I can't take the Patriots because they're somehow favored in this game. I have no idea how.
All that. I was like, Keith is going to like this.
I can't imagine how they're favored on the road in this game. Don't be surprised if I got to change my pick. I had another one too.
At all.
Don't be surprised if the Steelers go to Vegas and pull out a win against Josh McDaniel and the Raiders.
Why would that be a surprise? The Raiders are struggling right now. They can't.
So that's a surprise. I mean, if you're a dog, that's a surprise. You're a dog on the road.
The best surprise is that the Patriots are favored this week.
I got 9 comments I got to get through here. Let me put some music on, and then we're gonna have to. We'll look at the comments quick, guys, and then we gotta get out of here because we're a little late. But thanks for really participating, guys. I love that. Blah, 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 blah. Wow.
Well, there's a lot, huh?
There is. Jackson. I guess he's talking about Jackson Dart.
That's not a surprise. You can bet on that, Anthony.
Bad. Well, I don't know what the wow was for. That's got to be for you for something. Alabama dropped 20. That's a good one. Don't be surprised if Washington beats the Bills.
That won't be a surprise either. They're doing very well, Alex. They're doing very well.
That's a surprise. That would be a surprise to me. Overtime for you. That was your call. Oh, I guess he was giving you wow on Colorado at overtime. Over 70. This game will go over 70. I'm telling you, it might be 50-21. It's possible to be 50-21. Broncos suck. Surprise if Troy Franklin from Oregon puts up 3 TDs. Good call there, Anthony. Tanner D. Pats win. I love Tanner. Tanner's my boy. Raiders suck. And our herd. I'm not sure where that came from, but thanks, Tanner. Thank you, everybody. Great participation today. Thank you, Carlos. Good show.
Happy Friday.
You guys Sunday. Have a great Friday. Bye-bye.